All righty, we are here at the top of the hour. Good morning and welcome everyone to the CEO Workshop, Driving Revenue During a Crisis. I'm Kevin Lawson and I'm joined by O'Shaughnessey. We're glad you're here. Thanks for being on time and early. A couple quick notes about today's session. We got quite a few on the line, so if everyone's coming in muted, there will be time where we'll unmute you at the end of the event. But also we'll distribute a follow-up for those of you who have to check out early. We'll have a follow-up message to all attendees, so be on the lookout for that this afternoon via in your email. A lot of great content coming your way. So when you have questions, please use the chat feature inside the Zoom tool. We'll use that as a way to relay your questions to Sean. We've added some additional time at the end, just as a reminder to field additional burning questions before we all adjourn. So thanks again for your time and let's get started. Sean, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that. So just as a little bit of order, I am going to quickly turn off my camera, which means I'm going to go out of slideshow mode. I don't like looking at myself when I present, so hopefully everybody understands that. Kind of unnerves me. Plus, I sometimes will stand up when I talk, so I apologize that. Thank you very much for attending. I really do appreciate you taking the time out today on your busy day. Today, we're going to talk about how to drive revenue during a crisis. And specifically, the crisis we're going to talk about is the thing that's in the news a lot right now, and that is supply chain disruption, increasing prices due to inflation, all of those things that are affecting you, and how your salespeople can help manage that and get motivated, and maybe some things that you have to need to be worried about as a company as well. So hopefully I cover everything that we need to talk about. As Kevin said, we will have time at the end for questions and comments that if anybody wants to do that. So I think everybody has seen the news. You've seen pictures like this. You probably know more about container shipping than you've ever thought you ever wanted to know. Maersk, who's one of the biggest shipping companies around, says the worst delays are still in front of us. And due to workers on land, they were looking at boats being unloaded at the time of this quote of roughly 4 weeks of boats sitting in the ocean waiting to reach land. The Drewry World Container Index, which I actually didn't even know such a thing existed until I did some research for this presentation, measured the cost of moving a 40-foot container, and that's what those boxes are that you see on that ship and in that and on those two images, increased 170% than it was a year ago. And I know some of my customers have complained about this. The cost of a container has gone up and up and up, and they've had to absorb that or figure out how to deal with that in their business. And maybe yours has as well. The Chinese Producer Price Index surged 13.5% in October, while the US Producer Price Index, sorry about that, grew at 8.6%, which was at that time was an all-time record. And I don't think it's gotten any better since that October number, although I don't think November numbers are out. Maybe they just came out and I missed it. So we can see that, there's issues throughout the world. You're not unique if you're facing some of these issues, and we need to deal with them effectively and potentially make them to our advantage. So you'll see a lot of prognosticators kind of predict the future, and I am not going to predict here. I promise you, I will not tell you when this will be over. What I will say is that there's a lot of people who say that's not going to be over relatively soon. So Siemens Energy, obviously Siemens is a very, very big company. So you got to think that Christian's getting really good advice from his people. He thinks it's going to be around for a long time. You can read his quote there. Economist Aneta Markowska, who I didn't know until I also researched this, suggests that there will be a significant improvement by the second half of 2022. And remember, we're only in January. So the second half of 2022 is what, 6-9 months away? Jeremy Nixon of Ocean Network Express actually gave a little bit more bad news. And he said, if July, August, and September are bad, then we're not going to be through this supply chain crisis and this price increase for prices until 2023. And I don't think anybody's surprised that prices are going up everywhere. We all buy gas for our cars. And I don't think anybody is surprised when you look at the price of the pump, you know that the price has gone up considerably. You may not have done the math about how bad it's been for in your space and for your vehicle, but you're spending more to get to work. So are your employees. Buying a car has gotten a lot more expensive. Staying in a hotel has gotten a lot more expensive. Buying protein products, so meat, poultry, and fish, has gotten considerably more expensive. You can see kind of a list here, and this is obviously at the comparison of November 2020 to November 2021. So if your employees, the people on your team, aren't complaining to you and say, you know, I think I need a raise because it's just not going as far as it used to, then they probably will be soon. And that's just the fact of life, right? So it takes more for them to live. Obviously, that puts pressure on you as an employer, and you need to deal with that however you need to deal with it. But we all know how difficult it is to hire good people in this economy as well. And just this morning, I was reading the paper, Wall Street Journal this morning, and there was a great article talking about the executives list of 2022 worries. And in that list of 2022 worries, 900 global CEOs that were talked to by Conference Board, who I also had never heard of until I read the article, more than half expect price pressure to exist till mid 2023. So that's, what, 15, 18 months from now, where they weren't worried about that at all. And I'll let you read the quote from the CEO of Honeywell, but he said inflation is here. So I think we've all seen this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm not going to beat this up anymore. You probably joined the seminar to understand what that issue is and how to deal with it. And so I'd like to have a little bit of conversation about what does it mean to deal with all these issues and how do we get through this in a way that makes sense? In other words, is this affecting your business? Are your costs rising? Are you having difficulty getting raw supplies? And will this disruption affect how you run your business? Now, if you're a glasses half full kind of a person, you might come back to that answer to that question and say, no, I'm not going to change anything. We're going to be fine. I'll actually push back on that a little bit. I think this is an opportunity for you to change how you run your business. It is an opportunity for your company to actually get better. And a lot of people look at that and say, gee, that doesn't make a lot of sense until you understand what has happened in history when good companies or great companies are working better after a crisis, after the economy has had a speed bump, and we've had several speed bumps in the history of our country in the last 20 years. After those, great companies become even better. And I'm going to actually drive to a quote from Andy Grove of Intel. Now, if you're not familiar with Andy Grove specifically, you've definitely heard of Intel. Andy was one of the founders of the company, ran the company for many, many years, and he made Intel into a company that we all know and has affected all of our lives, even to probably the very computer that you are watching this very event on. It's probably got an Intel something in it. If it doesn't have an Intel processor, it probably has something from that company as well. They are one of the most dominant companies in the semiconductor space, and one of the most dominant companies in America. He said, and I don't know if this is original quote, but it's always attributed to him, bad companies are destroyed by a crisis. Good companies survive them. Oops, sorry. Hate that when that happens. Sorry about that. Great companies are improved by them. So I'll go back to that and I'll just read it again since I kind of screwed up the slides there. Bad companies are destroyed by a crisis. Good companies survive them, and great companies are improved by them. So this is an opportunity because we are in a crisis mode. We are in a challenging economic environment where it is important to think about how do you become improved so that when you come out of the crisis, and there will be a day when we come out of this crisis, that you're actually a better company. They're actually farther ahead. So I'm going to go through 10 things right now. Now I'm going to kind of dig into some of them a little bit more detail. So the 10 things to make you great. The first thing to talk about is don't make things worse by doing nothing. Whenever you see a disaster looming, the single most important thing to do is to take action. Sometimes we are like deer in the headlights, right? We stand still, we don't know what to do, we kind of panic, and we panic by not doing anything. You're frozen to the spot. Problem is, we need to leap into action at this point. Things will always get worse, and they will always get worse quickly. So your actions matter. The second thing to do to make your company great is to deal with facts and not fiction. In the middle of a tough time, it is really easy to start freaking out based on what could possibly happen. Our imagination can run wild when things are tough. You hear all kinds of things on the news, and you start thinking about all the bad things that can happen to you or to your company. And most of those things will never happen. Let's be honest. Our imagination is typically much worse than reality. So we need to get ahead of that and realize that what you feel in your head is not really facts, it's fiction. And you need to deal with the facts on the ground. Cement your relationship with your existing customers. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but this is very, very important. And in fact, it's one of the most important things that I'm going to talk about is your customers are going through the same tough time. They are experiencing the same issue. This is a time when you actually can get closer to your customer because they are having problems. They are having challenges. They may have reached out to you and say, how are you handling this? The product you sell me is very important to me. How are you handling getting it to me in a timely manner? They may not ask you if you're going to raise the price, but they're definitely worried about it. So this is a time when you can get closer to your customer. And I'm going to talk about this more in a couple slides from now, but it's very important that you think about this, that your customer is the most important thing in this process, and you really need to spend time making that relationship better. You also should spend this time rethinking your business. What's working in your business today? What isn't working in your business today? This is a time when it's really easy to make a decision and say things that aren't working, things that are not contributing to my profitability, maybe I should stop doing those things because now it's a good time to do it. So get rid of that dead weight, make that go away, and make it get better for your company overall. But it's also a time to go out and chase business. And I'm going to talk a lot about this in the coming slides. This is a time when we can do more business development. Now, that may seem like it's a wrong thing to do. A lot of times companies will start to go into panic and they'll say, we can't ship, so let's not go get more business. Well, that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing. You should actually go out and chase more business. Most of the clients that I work with, most of the clients that Kevin works with, our customers typically have less than 1% market share. In fact, you could argue that we have 0% market share in just about every product that every company we work with, right? When you look at the global market for the products that our clients work on, we probably have close to 0% market share in just about every one of those clients. So when you have 99% or 99.99% of the economy to go after, of the marketplace to go after, it doesn't make sense that you worry about the economy. What really makes sense at that point is getting more customers. Now, your competitor is also in panic mode, and he may or may not be going after and getting more customers as well. But you definitely need to make this opportunity to go after and get more customers. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in another slide coming up. Now we're going to get into more of let's just say the good feeling portion of this list. Be careful whom you spend time with. One of my favorite sayings is, if you lie down with dogs, you're going to get fleas. Stay away from those people that are the naysayers. Now, that might mean that you have to stay away from the news. Let's be perfectly honest, right? Because there's a lot of bad stuff that's on the TV. But I'm not saying be uninformed. So let's not go there too much. But be careful who you hang out with. Be careful who is giving you bad news. Be careful that they're not dragging you down. And try to align yourself with people that are actually uplifted, that are trying to do better, that are trying to improve the companies that they work for. Because those are the people that you can look to for reassurance that this will be over. We will get out of it on the other side, and life will get better soon. Hopefully very soon, but at least soon. This is also a time to invest in your business. It's time to put a new coat of paint on the building. It really is. You need to make it look new and fresh. You need to fix your website. I don't care if your website's 6 months old, 3 months old, or 6 years old. Fix it. Go spend time, make it better. If you need help with that, give Kevin or I a call. We actually know a lot of people that can help you fix your website. But upgrade your website, create a new corporate image, create a new logo, just build some excitement, adopt a new font in your slides. Whatever makes sense in your world, you need to do that now, because you need to invest in your business. You need to make excitement happen in your business. You need to make your employees excited about what's happening in your business as well. So this is a time to double down. This is a time to get better. And you can't get better without investing in your business. Similarly, you have to invest in yourself. The great thing is you came on this seminar, which is a wonderful advice I give to everybody that wants to figure out how to invest in themselves. Go to seminars, learn from others, read a great management book, read a great sales book. We can recommend, Kevin and I can recommend some of those if you'd like. But work on training yourself, work on making yourself a better person, because now is the time to do it. When we get done with this crisis, you're going to appreciate that you are more informed and more knowledledgeable about how to run your business. So,
hey, Sean?
Yes, Kevin.
Sean, when you get to a stopping point, I've got a direct question that came in via chat, maybe before we get off the slide.
Sure, absolutely. I got 2 more points and then let's do that. That sounds great. Thank you. Along those lines, find someone to mentor you through challenging times. That could be somebody that you appreciate in business, somebody in your community, somebody in your social group. That's fine. I suggest joining groups that help other businesses get together, things like Vistage or other kind of networking groups. And I'm happy to introduce you to Vistage if you're not familiar with that organization. So give me a call. But find somebody to mentor you, to help you through it, to give you advice. They're not going to solve your problem, but they're going to give you advice on how to get through it. Kevin and I do this on a regular basis with our clients. So if you can't find anybody else, at least reach out to us and we'll try to give you as much advice as we possibly can and help you through your business and help you make it better. And finally, learn from experience. This can be cliche, but it's absolutely true. The reality is this world will be over. The crisis will be over. Life will come back to a new normal, whatever that new normal is. You need to make your company be ready to fight harder, be leaner and meaner and more active, and be able to be a better competitor in the marketplace. So Kevin, this is the end of that slide. So what's the question?
Good. Actually, 2 questions. The first one, this came in right after you started talking about the global supply chain. It says, we make a product that has some critical sub-assemblies that we source from Asia. We cannot find another supplier of the parts domestically, and now our shipments are being dramatically delayed. What do we do if we have already had order cancellations due to our challenges in shipping product?
Great question. Actually, I'm going to cover that in a little bit, but let me give you the high level answer to that. So the first thing you do, if you've lost orders today because you just can't ship, right? Your customers have given up on you. You need to truly double down on your business development activities at this point, right? And you need to lock in those customers that you still have and make sure they're on board. So you need to spend extra time on that. So you are in a situation where you have to make up ground. And I'm going to do some math here in a little bit about discounting, and it'll be kind of the same kind of math, and I can help with that offline. But you need to now accelerate your business development. You need to find new customers, and you need to aggressively do that as fast as you possibly can. I'll make some suggestions on how to do that in a couple slides, but that's got to be your number one focus in your business right now.
Good. Second question is, what value does reviewing supplier expenses play in helping push cash to the bottom line? And again, that's what value does reviewing supplier expenses play in helping push cash to the bottom line? Sure.
So I'm going to take that. I'm going to make some assumptions on that question, and maybe whoever asked it can ask another question. But my assumption is you're talking about your suppliers, the people that are supplying you for your company. There is value in reviewing their expenses and helping them be a better company. Same thing if you can get that with your clients, if they can help you drive your costs down, right? There's a lot of value in doing that. It helps your company. It helps everything else. So you should do this to your vendors, as well as you should, hopefully your clients can help you. Typically, they have larger buckets of cash than you do. So maybe they can guarantee orders, which allows you to guarantee orders to your vendors, which can drive down some costs as well. So there's a lot of value in working just both up your chain as well as down your chain in the supply chain world, to drive down those costs and to working together to solve those problems together. And the great companies absolutely will do that. Great questions. Anything else, Kevin?
Nope, the queue is currently empty. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So question though, is your salesperson, is your sales team the answer to these problems? So communicating to your customers and prospects is critical. And that message, what you are saying to them, is critical. So maybe if you are the CEO or a leader in your company, maybe that should come from you to your clients, but it also needs to be communicated via your sales people. And your salespeople, therefore, need to be communicated to effectively on what they should say, how they should say, what they should communicate. I'll talk a little bit more about this, but the big thing here is don't hide things from your salespeople. Don't treat them like minions, treat them like fellow business executives, so that they can effectively deliver the message that you want to deliver to your customers and to your prospects. It's critical that you have open communication to your team as well as to your customers in this whole thing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how the sales team works and how it can work. My last slide, or one of my last slides before the wrap-up slide, is actually going to be my most critical suggestion. What I think is the biggest suggestion I can give you during this time. So please don't fall asleep while this is going on. I'll try to wake you up, and I'll try to change my voice, or maybe I'll clap my hands or whatever to wake you up at the end. But please don't fall asleep. Please stay with us until the end, because I think you'll get a lot of value out of the last slide or last couple slides. At a high level, your customers probably understand what's going on. In fact, I would say that they almost definitely understand what's going on. Your customers do not expect you to be unscathed in this crisis. They aren't unscathed in this crisis. They read the paper, they watch the news, they can see what's happening to their other vendors. So they totally understand that if you're having delivery issues or if your costs are increasing. They totally understand that. They get it. Now, they may not like it, but they get it. And this is a time when you can have that honest conversation about what's driving your company and what your challenges are, and how that might align with theirs. And as we just talked about in the question that Kevin just asked, how do we get them to help us be a better company? And this is very, very important to understand, is that they can be your biggest asset to helping you through this crisis, especially if the crisis is really affecting the profitability of your company. And I'm going to do 4 slides here that are all go together. So I put one of 4 into this section so that you can understand that they kind of flow together. And I'm trying to go through a math problem a little bit in this process as well. So I'll try to go slow, try to give good examples, and hopefully it all makes sense. If not, please ask questions at the end, or chat over to Kevin. So discounting is a bad thing, and you're going to get this request. Now, it's not unusual that the discount request is coming from your salesperson. So they get a call from their best customer, and they say, hey, we can't make our shipments, right? We have to delay our shipments because we have supply chain problems or whatever. So we're gonna miss our shipments to you, Mr. Customer. So they call back and they say, well, if you're gonna do that, then I want a discount, right? Or maybe they didn't say that, but the salesperson thought he said that. That happens a lot. Discounting is bad. And part of the reason it's bad is it creates this expectation of a future discount. The reality is, if you give a discount to a customer, you have given that discount to that customer forever. You're never going to get it back. You might be able to incrementally move it forward. You might be able to do annual price increases coming forward in the future. However, you're always going to be starting from a discount. So you don't want to discount, and it's really, really bad for your business, and it devalues your value. It also complicates your business ceilings. If you're a company that doesn't regularly discount, then now you have to deal with this price is 5% less, and that customer is 10% less, and that customer is 8% less, and you have to manage all of that. And that just increases your sales operations costs. Now, you can do that. Spreadsheets can do that. CRM systems can do that. ERP systems can do that. But it does make it more complicated and it makes it more difficult. So you want to avoid it. It just makes your life more difficult. It's also just not good for your company, which I'll talk to you about in a second. It also demonstrates a lack of confidence and it erodes trust in you or in your company. It demonstrates that, gee, yeah, I got a discount. So I immediately gave you, or I got a request for a discount and I immediately gave it to you. Well, maybe I should have asked a year ago, right? So how long have they been paying too much? When you give a discount to a customer that's already been purchasing from you at a higher rate, then they have to think back and say, gee, all that money I spent before, now all I had to do is ask for a discount and I got it. So this is an issue, right? And you don't want to give that perception to the customer that for a while they were actually overpaying, because that's not true. You were paying the right price. So you need to avoid the discount for that reason as well. And I'm going to talk the next 3 slides about this one. It squeezes your profit margin unnecessarily. It makes a big difference. A little bit of a discount is very, very difficult to overcome. So it's common for people to say, well, I'll make up my discount by having more volume. The example that I'm going to give you in a 5th slides is going to show that you have to have a massive amount of volume in order for you to actually make up that discount. And I'll show you that. It's going to be shocking if you've never done this math before. And finally, it may force you to cut corners, or at least consider cutting corners within your company. You might have to lay people off. You might have to buy inferior product that goes into your product if you're an assembly manufacturer of some kind. So you might have to do things that you don't want to do. And that is also not a good thing to have happen. You need to run your company effectively, and your customer needs to understand that you have to run your company effectively. So we want to not offer discounts, especially for something as simple as shipment problems. Now, if they say, we'll buy 10 times more if you give us a 10% discount, well, maybe that is a reason to give a discount, but it does not make sense to give a discount just because we're in a supply chain problem and we have this global economy problem. So slide 2. Once again, I'm going to talk about it's difficult to make up a discount. I'm going to show you how difficult this really is with some simple math. And I'm going to make up a product. This may not be relative to your company, but please play around with me and take notes if you want. In fact, you may want to scribble down some notes on a piece of paper if you want to, because I'm going to do some math and refer back to other things in the past. So let's assume that you have a 50% gross margin on your product and you sell that product for $500. It's easy math if I just use 500. So 50% discount or 50% profit margin. That means, let's also assume that your net margin after paying for all your overhead and all your employees and everything else, all your insurance benefits and all that, your net margin is 11%. 11% is really pretty good, especially depending on your business, but 11% is pretty good. So that means you have roughly exactly $445 of overhead costs. So you make $55 on that $500. You make 11%. That's after you've paid for everything else, and that's what actually you have to take home to the bank or to give to your stockholders. At list price, your gross profit is $250 per unit. If you sell 1,000 units at list price, you will gross $250,000. Okay, all of this is simple math. Pretty standard stuff. Your net margin is only $55, as I talked about before. So on those 1,000 units, you will only make $55,000 of net profit. $55 for each one, which is 11%, times 1,000 units is $55,000. So that's what you make on 1,000 units in this scenario. Your company is different. I get that, but this is the example I'm going to use. If you discount that product by 10% due to supply chain issues, because your customer is pushing back, if you discount it by 10%, you will sell the product for $450. Remember, the list price of the product was $500. So now we are taking $50 off the top. Your gross cost, though, if you haven't made changes in your company, your gross cost is $250. you still have to pay everything else on your product that you had before. So now your gross margin is $200 per unit. That didn't go against your vendors. You didn't get any supply chain helps from your vendors. You just took it off the chin. So you took $50 out of your gross margin. So now you're making $200 per unit. So therefore, at 1,000 units, your gross profit is $200,000. If you want to make the same gross profit, you will need to sell 1,250 units. That's a 25% increase in sales just because you gave somebody a 10% discount. The way you get there, $250,000 is the same gross profit. That's the gross profit we made at list price, $250,000. Now you're making $200 per unit instead of the $250 you were before. So that means you are going to have to spend or sell 1,250 units to make the same amount of gross profit. That's a big factor. 25% increase in sales for a 10% discount. It's really hard to make up 25%. If you can turn 25% on in your company, if you can increase sales dramatically and up to 25%, then why in the world do you care if that customer's pushing back on you asking for a 10% discount? It's almost better to say no, let the customer walk, because you can increase your revenue by 25%. But it actually gets worse. Last slide of this part of this 404, this math problem. Once again, if you discount that product by 10% due to supply issues, you are going to charge $450. Your overall cost, though, from the second slide, 204, was $445. Remember, we were making $55 of net profit per product. So $445 taken away from $450, which is what you actually sold it for, means you only made $5. That's it. You went from a $55 per product margin per unit to a $5 per unit margin. At list price, you had a net profit of $55,000 when you sold 1,000 units. To make the same net profit, you will now have to sell 11,000 units, which means an 1,100% increase in sales due to a 10% discount. The math is really simple. You want to make $55,000. That was your old net profit. Divide that by 5, because that's all you're making per unit now, and it comes out to 11,000 units. Once again, that 10% discount is really hurting your profitability of your company. And it's almost better if you can actually make that up by volume. If you actually feel like that 10% discount we can make it up by volume because now we'll sell more, you have to sell a lot more because your costs didn't change. Now, obviously you can change your costs. You can go lay some people off, you can buy inferior products, whatever, but that's not an immediate fix. If you're trying to fix it on the sales side, it just means that you have to sell a lot more product. So when your salesperson comes to you and says, I need to give a discount to save this customer, you really got to question, well, maybe I don't want that customer, because it's very hard to make up that discount.
Sean, I've got one question from the chat here for you, the field related to discounting. How do you keep salespeople from immediately going to discounting? Would you suggest policy or training?
Well, both actually. Good. I'm glad you said that, because I'd actually suggest both. So first of all, I would have a policy starting immediately that you should implement that no salesperson can offer any discount again. Right? So if whatever discount you already have with your customers, and I'm sure some customers have deserved a discount from you, but from this point forward, you can't give them any more. Everybody loses the ability to give a discount until they come back to you, or until they come back to the team, however you set up your discounting structure, your CFO, whatever makes sense in your company. So that's the first thing. I would set that up as a policy. The training portion is to do almost that exact same calculation that I just went through with your customer and explain to them, look, this is what this means, right? Let me explain how this works. They're probably pretty smart people, right? They're probably got their MBAs on their staff as well. They can do this math with their products. So they are not going to be surprised if you do this math with them. So that training session that you have to do with your salespeople so that they can have that really good conversation with their customer and explain, look, this doesn't make sense for me. This is not a win-win situation for me and for my company. So we can't do it. What else can we do to make this right? What else can we do to fix this problem? So that was a great question, and thank you very much. If you don't know how to do that, how to train your salespeople and get that done, reach out to Kevin and I, and we'll be happy to do it. That's kind of what we do. So we've helped you fix it so you don't have to do that. In fact, and I've already started this next slide, we can help you do this next thing. Should you increase your prices during the time of COVID, during the time of a pandemic, during the time of a supply chain disruption? Because you may have to. The reality is your vendors are doing this to you, right? They have increased your prices without you even asking, right? I showed you that chart earlier with gas. Your cost of gas, if you operate trucks to deliver your product or you operate vehicles to deliver your services, guess what? Your cost went up. It's just a simple fact of life. And that you're just going to have to absorb that. Or should you? Because you should really pass those on to your customers. Remember, your customers are getting hit by all of their vendors. So they may not be happy about you coming to them and saying, look, we need to talk about the pricing structure here. We need to fix this. We need to make it better. But it's not likely that you're going to lose a customer over it because they're hearing it from everybody. You are just one of the many that they have to deal with. Same with how you are getting it too. You are getting it from all sides. They are as well. The key thing here is to develop a partnership with those customers so that you can actually work together to solve the problem and make a better combination of you and your customer together to create the right value for that product. Even if you can absorb the hit and the supply chain, maybe your margins are so strong that you can't absorb it. I specifically chose a example earlier that made it really look really bad, but maybe your margins are better in your product. Maybe it's just that much tougher. This also may be a way to increase your margins because once again, you don't give back price increases after the COVID nightmare is over. Your prices are going to stay there. And so you can absorb those costs. You can defray some of those costs by raising your prices to your customers. But then you'll have that price increase when things are better, when things are not as competitive, and it's going to make you in a better situation. So you could potentially be more profitable. In other words, you could be like Andy Grove talks about, you could be a great company getting better. If you don't know how to increase your prices, you don't know how to drastically increase your profit, then that's what Kevin and I help companies do all the time. So please reach out to us and we'll be happy to give you some advice along the way and help you through that process. This is a big concept right here. Are your salespeople scared? And I'm going to tell you, I've been in sales for 37 years. I'm old. Some of you saw my picture before I turned off my camera. I got lots of gray hair. Scared salespeople are bad salespeople. We just are. When we get scared, we do stupid things like offering a discount to save a customer, right? Which is why you need to make a policy to say you can't do that. Scared salespeople are simply bad salespeople. So can't let your salespeople be scared. You may need to think your compensation plan, depending on how it's set up, so that your salespeople aren't scared. So they aren't worried about how are they going to buy braces for the kid? How are they going to save for their college education, right? How are they going to make their mortgage payment if it's that tire, right? So you may need to think your compensation plan so that the salesperson knows that if they're doing the right things, they're okay. They're in the boat with you and they're part of the same situation that you're in. If you currently pay commission when a customer pays you or when your product ships, so in other words, the customer's now paid the invoice or when the product ships, and this is very typical for people to do, they'll pay commission after one of those two events. That may put that salesperson's variable compensation at risk if you can't ship your products. So they did all the hard work. They convinced that customer to buy. They got that order in the door, but then for reasons outside of their control, obviously outside of your control as well, you can't ship your products. You cannot fulfill those products. That order is at risk. Well, the salesperson is not getting paid his variable commission, which is how he makes money And if you have the right kind of compensation plan, and once again, Kevin and I can help you fix that, then you're going to have a compensation plan that has some base and some variable. We can talk about what that makes sense in your industry. But that means that variable compensation is at risk. And that makes salespeople scared. Now you can say, suck it up. We're all in this together, suck it up. Well, suck it up kind of works. But remember, that salesperson, if he's any good, he's got 4 offers in his pocket, right? So on a regular basis, he could find another job. So you need to think about that. Don't let him be scared. Don't let her be scared. So consider variations of paying, maybe partially upon receiving an order and then partially upon shipping an order, or when the customer pays. Now, fully understand that you might have to have conversations with your salespeople about clawback. And if you don't understand what clawback is, it's basically that we paid you, but the order never happened. We never got paid. The customer didn't pay us. So now we need to claw that money back from you because you didn't actually complete the order. So you might have to have that conversation. That's an easy conversation to have. Once again, Kevin and I will be happy to help you to have that conversation. We've had that conversation over and over again in our careers. We know how to do that. We know how to set that up. But that is a possible opportunity for you to make your salespeople less scared. The other way to make them less scared is to empower them. Look, salespeople can see through lies because they are born liars, right? Let's be honest, right? The common joke, lips are moving, salesperson's lying, right? So that's not 100% true. Obviously, it's a joke. It's a bad joke in my opinion, but that's okay. But if you lie to a liar, the liar knows, right? We can see through it. We'll know if you are not telling us the truth. So give them the truth, empower them to know what's going on in the business. Do the calculation for them and with them on the profitability that I just gave to you. You're going to have these slides. So you're going to be able to walk through that with them. Don't let your best salespeople leave. If your business is in trouble, the last thing you need is your best salesperson walking out the door. So don't let him walk out the door. Turnover in sales is incredibly difficult to recover from. As before, we can help you, give you some ideas on how to make that happen, but don't let them leave. If they've already left, then we really need to help you because now you need to act fast. You need to fill that void. The calculation of I've lost a salesperson, that revenue that salesperson is responsible for is not coming in the door is worse than the calculation I did for you earlier on discounting. It's actually a bigger discounting into your overall company. So having an open headcount is incredibly painful for you to make your financial goals. So you need to address that issue very, very quickly and work hard at doing it. I talked about this before, get close to your customers. So I'm supposed to be done right now. I'll be done in a second here. Use this opportunity to align your ability to ship with your customer's ability to use. Work with your customer to find out when do they need the product? What is the timetable for their needs? When do they need to receive the product that you are shipping to them? If they know that they need so many in 3 months and so many in 6 months and so many in 9 months, work with them to develop that ability to give you advance orders or give you some visibility into that. Advance orders are fantastic. Letters of intent are fantastic. You can then take that and potentially buy long lead time items well ahead of the schedule. When we talk about the pile up of the boats in the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean trying to get into our country, it's not like things aren't going through. They're just going through slower and it's taking longer to get through. So if you can place an order for those sub-assemblies or those parts weeks earlier, months earlier, then maybe you can completely alleviate the problem. That confidence of can you do it comes with, can you actually sell the end product at the end of the time? So once again, if you can work with your customer, get close to your customer, become a partnership with your customer, you can actually get ahead of it. Also, you may be swapping out parts. You may be saying, I used to get this part from Asia somewhere, and now you are going to get this part from Mexico or somewhere else in the United States. So you can come in and you can fix that problem by swapping out the parts. Well, now your product is a little bit different. It's not as good as the other product, or maybe it's just a different format. It's got a different rating or whatever. You need to work with your customer now to say, hey, if I make this change, is this going to be okay? And are you okay with that? Because they're going to have two different things that they're buying from you from yesterday till tomorrow. This is that big slide that I was telling you about before. This is the number one slide of everything I can tell you to not do and to be successful in the future. And that is, don't stop selling. Your first reaction when you have a hard time shipping product is to tell your salespeople, stop selling that thing because we can't fill it. Don't do that. That's the worst thing that you can possibly do. So don't. And let me tell you why. Sales is a constant process. Your customer is buying whether you sell to them or not. So you could potentially lose the order. The customer can buy from a different vendor if you stop selling to them. You don't get to make that up. You just don't. So you need to constantly sell. You must do it every day. That product that is hard to fill, keep selling it. You have to sell it. If you stop, as I said, the prospect may buy from a different vendor. So you need to help the sales team find new prospects even more diligently and more aggressively than they did in the past. This is the time to sell. This is the time to go into overdrive. This is the time to work hard. And this is especially true if one of your existing customers, I think this is one of the questions that Kevin asked earlier had on the list. This is especially true if one of your existing customers has stopped purchasing. So now you have a void. You were shipping 10,000 units a month, and now you're shipping 9,500. You got to make up that other 500, and you got to make that up very fast, right? And the way to do that is to find new customers. Remember, you probably have a 1% market share at best. There's lots of people out there that can be your customer that are not your customer. So your reaction in this crisis is critical. Bad companies are destroyed by crisis. Good companies survive them. But great companies are improved by them. And you want to come out of this on the other side being a great company. At this time, take the steps that you need to increase your revenue and get closer to your customers. This is the time to do it. It's a perfect opportunity, and don't let a good crisis go to waste. We've learned that from some of our political leaders. I hope you've enjoyed this session. We are going to do it again. We're going to do actually a different topic. Our next webinar is going to be February 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern. That topic is going to be CRM for the growth-focused CEO. It's not going to be a features and benefits chat. We're not going to try to sell you a product. It's not our goal. Instead, we're going to focus on how to use technology to increase your sales, to shorten your sales cycles, to capture relevant information that helps you be more competitive and focus on your customer even more. So it's 45 minutes long. And it will be a great opportunity for you to learn how to increase the growth of your organization. So very quickly, a little bit about me and a little bit about Kevin. I'm the CEO of a company called New Sales Expert. After 37 years in the industry of selling for lots of big companies, and some of those are listed there in that second paragraph, I decided that it was better for me to focus my attention on small and medium-sized business on a fractional basis. I do that because I love bringing new products to market. It was one of the things that I enjoyed most as I looked at those companies in the past that I worked for, that I really enjoyed selling new products. I'm really jazzed about selling a product that no one knows how to sell. And so I've done that to a lot of companies. There's some Fortune 500 companies that are on that list, but that's what I do. I help companies that struggle getting their sales started, that struggle making sales happen, and I help them get past those. I help them break through that ceiling that's holding them back or that wall that's holding them back. And I help create an environment to make that happen. Kevin is also similar to me. He's a B2B sales professional and the owner of Lighthouse Sales Advisors. So we're two different companies where he's happen to work together a lot. He's worked for and sold distribution companies, tech founders, and IT consultants throughout his career in sales, sales management, and sales leadership. Kevin has a great reputation at both tactical and strategic information or levels. It allows him to rise above the problem, identify solutions, and help you execute on them. For 20 years, Kevin's leadership capabilities have helped him become a major factor in helping his companies be more successful. He is also a virtual or fractional VP of sales. So either one of us will gladly help you solve your problems. At this point, Kevin, why don't we open everybody up for questions and comments? I see there might be some chats in there, but I can't see what they are. So if there's any comments that you want to ask or any questions that people want to ask, let's do that.
Good, good. And thanks, Sean. That was some really great content. I know we're a couple minutes past, but I've opened up the video and microphone options for you if you'd like to directly talk. I know some of you have to go already as we race for the top of the hour. So thank you all for being here. And Sean and I will hang on to field any questions you might have. And we look forward and hope to see you on the 16th of February with our next installment of CEO Workshop. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and once again, we're still here, so please fire away on questions or chats.
Here's one from Mike. Don't we have a double crisis now? Inflation is bad and getting worse. Mike, you hit the nail on the head. It's our opportunity now to lean into that and find out how we can solve problems for our customers. Yeah, great observation.
Yeah, actually, I almost say we have a triple crisis because we also have a hard time hiring people. I don't know a single company that is fully employed. So we have a problem hiring people as well. And we have all this problem of getting product in the door, getting product across the oceans because of our supply chain problems. So we have all kinds of crises going now. It's a challenging time to run a business.
And I'd imagine every one of you have a full boat of competing priorities inside and outside of your company. Here's Noah, never miss taking advantage of a crisis. A thumbs up, Sean.
Yep. Thank you very much for that, Darren. Yeah. So, one of our, I'm not going to get political on this, but that was one of the things that people say about some of our political leaders is never waste a good crisis.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Anybody else?
That's got us all covered here. The chat's in. Thank you all again. You've been a great audience. Thank you for utilizing the chat and sharing your ideas, thoughts, and questions. It's enriched our experience as presenters, and we wish you all the best to the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.